Hi everyone. So, what are INFJs like in relation to their family? It's a difficult question. It's a question that is difficult partly because the family trajectory of each and every one of us, our development through childhood, is going to be quite idiosyncratic. So it's hard to have a one-size-fits-all kind of response to this question. Kindly asked by CL Stripe, by the way. But maybe there are things we can say that are general enough that they will, cover many, if not all, INFJs. I think what we can say is that INFJs are often going to have a kind of conflictual relationship with their family. It doesn't need to be a very intense, materialized form of conflictuality. I think a lot of the time it won't be like that. It will be a form of ambivalence, conflicts manifested as ambivalence. And the ambivalence seems to have its source in the fact that through FE and INFJs are, the function of extroverted feeling, INFJs will tend to feel a certain sense of obligation towards family, partly in a kind of impersonal manner. That's what you have to do if you're to be a moral human being, And FE is quite like that, and it fits the INFJ temperament. At the same time, I think that a lot of INFJs are never quite going to forget, because it's just not something that is easy to forget, that a lot of families, particularly the role of the parents and how parents understand their role, is most parents anyway, is to kind of prepare you for adaptation to society, right? It's kind of biological. It's a biological drive. It's a very, very primordial need that parents have of wanting to ensure that their children are going to thrive in the world, and more specifically in the society where they happen to be born. Problem is, if the society itself is kind of sick, and when I say the society is kind of sick, I mean, it's maybe suffers from too much narcissism, too much individualism. If it's a society that is not going so well, parents in a way are not going to favor that. They're not going to put the emphasis on that, because their primary emphasis in making sure that their child can thrive, and their go-to is going to be, ensuring that the child integrates those particular norms and values that will facilitate their adaptation. I'm not talking about the adaptive submissive INFJ here. I'm talking about the INFJ in general. Now, the thriving of the NI world of an INFJ, which is kind of the most essential aspect of INFJ individuation. It's not the only aspect, but it's in a very important aspect, is a subjective process for the most part, which requires taking some distance from the societal norms, values, and modes of organization of a society, particularly if the society is sick. And an INFJ, even from a relatively young age, is going to have a strong sense of that, a gut feeling and intuition. So from an early enough age, INFJs are going to be acutely aware, more and more acutely aware anyway, of a likely disconnect between what their parents are trying to enforce upon them for purposes of security, safety, and adaptation to reality and society. A tension between that and how the INFJ themselves perceive this society. And as they get older, it's not necessarily going to get more mild. It's the disconnect is probably going to appear more and more obvious. So you could also look at the trajectory of the adaptive submissive INFJ and that of the solipsistic INFJs is two different ways of reckoning with that tension between what society is actually like and the attempts that the attempts of their parents to make them conform. Because from the point of view of most parents, conformity is safety. So there's a reason why they're doing that, but the INFJ might not appreciate it quite the same way. So there's going to be this tension. You could see the adaptive submissive INFJ as unconsciously saying that my parents are right. I will do what they're telling me to do. And you could see the solipsistic INFJ as being the rebellious one, saying my parents are wrong, I'm going to do the opposite of what my parents are telling me to do. I'm going to reject this world and focus on my NI world, which is telling me the opposite of what my parents are telling me. Now, know the interesting fact that it seems to me that in a particular society that is really sick, this might mean that the path of adaptive submission might be more difficult to take for INFJs, and we might then see a preponderance, a higher number of solipsists, because in a sense solipsism is almost kind of justified as at least as an intermediate stage of INFJ growth. So the prism of the parents here is not to be underestimated, and as I continue my course, my training in psychoanalytic psychotherapy, I'm probably going to bring more and more of this prism into my discussion of INFJs, INTJs, and other types, and I think that will only contribute to enrich those discussions and descriptions. So an ambivalent relationship to the parents, to the family in general, but the parents are really the kind of crucible of that, is going to define the life of most INFJs. My need for individuation, which in the case of an NI dominant is highly subjective and highly introspective and geared toward questioning the outside, and at the same time a norm-governed FE sense of duty toward their family and their parents, even as they will find it hard to forget that their parents are also those who try to enforce conformity for them. Coming to terms with the fact that their parents were doing it out of love, for the in the majority of cases, is also going to help them come to terms with the fact that a family is worth loving, and in that particular feeling of love is probably one of the secrets to opening up this path of spiritualization. So these are my thoughts for now on INFJs and family. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget that if you would like to hear more about INFJs and about all these topics in more depth, I have written 2 books on INFJs. The latest one is The Infinite Soul, INFJ Life in the Modern World. The title says it all. If you want to know more about how INFJs interact with the modern world, how they can find happiness, love, and value for themselves and others, and also the main problems that they face, this is the book to get. And by the way, if you have the book, read the book, and loved the book, please consider reviewing it on Amazon. It helps me massively with referencing, okay? Now, the prequel is called The Ecstatic Soul. You might be familiar with it, which is a deep dive into the INFJ mind, INFJ consciousness. What is it like to be an INFJ? What are INFJs like from their own perspective? What are the existential manifestations of this particular kind of mind they have? This is the book to get. All the links are below, and don't forget that my Patreon page, which is also linked below, is the lifeblood of my channel. I depend on it for the channel's survival, to continue producing quality videos, regular quality videos for you. From anywhere from $3.50 a month, you can support me there. Access some bonus videos where I go more in depth into certain topics. Talk to the community, talk to me personally, and suggest content to me. So consider it, and I'll talk to you next time, guys. Bye-bye.